Daniel of Two Horizons. People think privilege feels like freedom. They imagine wealth as a wide open sky, choices, opportunities, doors that swing open at a touch. But my childhood taught me something different. Privilege can be a cage, a beautiful one, a golden one, but a cage all the same. I grew up in a world where everything was curated. My schedule, my friendships, my future. My parents weren't controlling, they were protective. They had seen too much, lost too much, feared too much. They believed that safety came from structure, and structure came from discipline. So my days were carved into perfect blocks: morning, English literature, mathematics, piano; afternoon, robotics lab, fencing practice, supervised study hall; evening, private tutoring, mock debates, quiet reading. Every hour accounted for, every minute purposeful, every breath directed toward a future that had been planned before I could speak. I didn't resent it, not then. I thought this was normal, that every child lived inside a schedule so tight it hummed like a machine. My classmates lived the same way. We were the children of ambition, raised to be polished, multilingual, globally competitive. We were told we were lucky, and we were. But luck has a price. I learned that the first time I tried to deviate from the script. I was 14, obsessed with computer games, not the competitive ones my tutors approved of, but the messy, creative ones where you could build worlds, break rules, experiment. I spent hours tinkering with mods, rewriting scripts, trying to understand how the engine worked. One night, I stayed up past midnight debugging a physics glitch. I was so absorbed I didn't hear my father enter the room. He didn't yell. He didn't scold. He simply stood there, looking at me with a mixture of concern and calculation. "Daniel," he said quietly, "you cannot afford distractions." I remember staring at him, confused. Distractions? I was learning. I was creating. I was alive. But he saw something else, a deviation from the path he had built for me, a crack in the structure that kept me safe. He sat beside me and said, "You have a gift, but gifts must be directed. Otherwise, they become liabilities." I didn't understand. Not fully. But I closed the game, and I didn't open it again for months. That was the first time I felt the cage. The second time came at school. Our civics teacher assigned a project: design a future city. Most students created glossy utopian skylines. I built something different: a decentralized city with open data systems, transparent governance, and citizen-driven decision-making. I was proud of it. It felt bold, innovative, alive. The next day, the teacher pulled me aside. "Daniel," she said, "this is too sensitive. It is not allowed in this country." Sensitive? Not allowed? Why? I crossed a line I didn't know existed. She asked me to redo the project. I did. But something inside me dimmed. That was the second bar of the cage. The third came from my peers. We were competitive, but not openly. Competition was quiet, polite, masked behind compliments and smiles. Everyone knew who had connections, who had influence, who would be fast-tracked into elite programs. I wasn't naive. I understood the hierarchy, but I also understood something else, something my parents never said aloud. I was privileged, but not protected. Not in the way some of my classmates were. Their families had political lineage. Mine had wealth, education, ambition, but not the bloodline that opened certain doors. I felt it in subtle ways: the invitations I didn't receive, the opportunities I wasn't told about, the conversations that paused when I approached. I wasn't excluded. I was simply peripheral, a guest in a world where some children were heirs. That was the third bar. The fourth came from my mother. She loved me fiercely, but her love carried a quiet urgency. She watched the news obsessively, tracked policies, whispered worries to my father late at night. She feared instability, unpredictability, the sudden shifts that could swallow futures whole. One evening, she sat beside me at the piano and said, "Daniel, you must always have a way out. A way out. A second horizon. A life beyond the reach of forces she could not control." That was why they flew to Hawaii. That was why they built my childhood like a fortress. That was why they pushed me toward excellence. Not for prestige, but for escape velocity. I didn't resent them. I loved them. But I began to understand the truth. My life was not entirely mine. It was a project, a strategy, a carefully engineered trajectory designed to carry me beyond the limits of the world I was born into. And yet, even inside that golden cage, something grew, something stubborn, something bright, curiosity, independence, a hunger for a life where questions weren't dangerous. That hunger became a flame, and that flame carried me through high school, through exams, through interviews, until the day a letter arrived with a crest embossed in gold, an acceptance letter, to an Ivy League university, to the world my parents had dreamed of for me. I remember holding it in my hands, feeling the weight of it, not just the paper, but the promise, the escape, the horizon. My father cried. My mother held my face in her hands and whispered, "You're free." But I didn't feel free. Not yet. Freedom, I would learn, is not a place. It's a reckoning. And mine was waiting for me across the ocean.